Hi, everyone. Welcome again to Enjoy English School. I'm Bruce.
I'm Antony.
Today we have our library spotlight feature. We're going to shine a light, a spotlight, a bright light that is used for staging events like dances or concerts. And that usually means something is quite important. And we think that the Abbey Library of St. Gall is important enough for us to feature this month.
老师刚刚用到几个字 shine a light on something 就是来介绍，有点像是把聚光灯打在什么东西上面，好让我们去介绍。然后第二个呢，老师用到的字词是 feature。如果说今天讲说某个东西，比方说 this exhibition features the paintings of Pablo Picasso 意思就是指说这样的这个展览主打什么什么东西。那我刚刚举的例子的话是毕卡索的绘画，那是可以用 feature 这个字当动词使用。那我们今天要介绍的主题是圣加侖修道院图书馆，它是位于瑞士的一个有名的图书馆，也是我们今天的主题。
Okay, let's go to Switzerland for today's lesson. First paragraph, first sentence. The Abbey of St. Gall in St. Gallen, Switzerland, was founded in the 7th century. So we're going to Switzerland, a small town called St. Gallen, and there is a special library there, an Abbey library. Abbey is a kind of, not temple, it would be a church because this is a Christian country, but it's a school as well as a place for monks to live and do research and even to teach sometimes. So, of course, they need a library there. And this was founded in the 7th century. No, not 17th. The 7th century, which is in Chinese history, Tang Cao, a long time ago.
没错，所以我们看到第一句话 The Abbey of St. Gall in St. Gallen, Switzerland was founded in the 7th century. 所以我刚才念 7 的时候，我就很想把那个 t 念出来，但是老师刚刚特别强调不是17世纪，而是7世纪，是在中国差不多唐朝的年代。我说哇，好久远的年代，对不对所以这句话讲说瑞士圣加侖它位于这个地方的圣加侖修道院呢，当初是西元7世纪的时候所建立的。好，其实就是可能西元663几64几这种，就是还不到那个7的这个地方。好，就是7世纪的时候建立，超早以前。
And that's the Tang Dynasty.
是唐代的时候。
However, the original Abbey library wasn't built until the 8th century.The Abbey burned down in 937 CE, but miraculously, the library's collection survived. So, as I said, an abbey is a place for monks, people who have devoted their lives, in this case, to the Christian religion, and they live and study and sometimes teach others there.The original one was built in the 7th, we say was founded, that means to begin something. It began in the 7th century. Then in the 10th century, in 937, Common Era, E-R-A, Era Dokai, 937, miraculously, the building burned down, but the library survived. It was not destroyed. And we often use the word collection to describe all the books and maps and articles and whatnot in a library as a collection, if it's big enough. And apparently this abbey was very, very big.
没错，所以老师刚刚有特别提到说，因为他之前有讲到说这个地方呢，它不只是学校，里面住了很多的僧侣，对不对？它是跟这个天主教有关的，基督教有关的这样子的一个地方。他就说了 ，Although the original Abbey，原本的这个修道院呢，在西元937年 或者是常常有会看到翻译成公元937年。有的时候提到这个 CE， 老师刚刚提到 the Common Era， 好，就是公元的意思。原本有的时候是你会看到 AD 的话呢，也是指这个西元后多少多少年，只是因为 AD 给人的感觉是很有明显的宗教的意味，是跟那个像 BC 是 before Christ， 那 AD 的话呢就是西元后嘛。那他后来因为要去除掉宗教的感觉，所以他用公元 CE 来表达，其实是一样的意思。所以他就提到说，这个地方原始修道院在西元937年被焚毁了。好，当初是这样，但是很奇迹的是 miraculously the library's collections survived。 老师刚刚特别去解释了 collection 这个字，我们有提到不管是地图啦、书籍啦等等，都可以用 collection 来表达，但是这个图书馆的馆藏呢，却居然保存了，幸免于难。
The library has since been rebuilt. So after the Great Fire, they had all these books, and the church gave them money to rebuild, to build their abbey again.And has been rebuilt and attacked on numerous occasions. Well, that's Europe for you. A long history of warfare, one country fighting another, one religion fighting another, and so on. And numerous means not constant, but at least maybe every 100 or 200 years, the Germans would fight the Italians, who fought the French, who fought the English, and so on.
没错哈，所以在这个地方很多很多的战火，对不对哈？他这边又提到说 ，The library has since been rebuilt and attacked on numerous occasions。在许许多多 numerous 指的是 many 很多很多的情况下，可能重建，然后又不小心被战火卷到，然后又被破坏，然后又重建，经过几番的这样的轮回。
While many of the books have been scattered,Scatter is to spread. Here's some, there's some, send the books over there and send the books to a different church for a while. It still maintains an impressive collection with thousands of medieval texts dating as far back as the 8th century. So even though some of the maps and books and tomes, T-O-M-E,have been sent here and there or stolen or missing and so on, there are still many, many books. There's an impressive collection. Impressive is no small thing. There are many books, and from so early in history, from the 8th century until now, it's hard to keep things. I have textbooks that are 40 years old that are falling apart.
Yep.
But for a collection of thousands of medieval refers to the European Middle Ages, roughly 600 to 1600.
所以在这边的话有很多东西可以跟各位解释一下。第一个部分是 while many of the books 如何如何，先帮我把这个 while 圈起来。提到 while 通常指的是两件事情，我们来看看是哪两件哦。While many of the books have been scattered， 好 scatter 这个字本来是指如果说今天大家聚集在一起，好了我们散开，大家就鸟兽散，这个叫 scatter。 在这个地方就是他们大量的书籍散落各地，好被这个战火给牵涉到了或者破坏了，然后很多书籍散落各地。 It still maintains an impressive collection with thousands of medieval texts dating as far back as the 8th century。 你看这么多的战火都卷到了这个修道院图书馆，可是呢它还是能保存了。所以第一个先讲到战火让很多书籍四散各地，但是好，后面第二件事情，它还是在这种情况下还是能够保有数千份中世纪的文本，这么多的惊人收藏，几千本，很恐怖很恐怖。老师刚刚讲到说他家里头有40年左右的那个书籍嘛，打开之后都快掉光了，好，很多东西都可能都散架了。可是在这边的话还有这么多中世纪的作品，那中世纪的话老师刚刚特别提到是差不多是西元6世纪到16世纪左右的时间，是中世纪的那个，如果没有记错的话应该是576到1453年的时候，这段时间1453鄂图曼土耳其
Oh, the Turkish invasion.
是
that was stopped in Vienna. And then they retreated, and then Eastern Europe became Christian again.
这是中世纪的那个嘛，对不对
？Well, in different places in Europe, it was at different times.
没错，反正基本上就是中世纪。你也可以听到人家讲 the Middle Ages， 也是指中世纪的意思。那 medieval 这个字的话，就是指那个中世纪的，它这个形容词。那他们这些文本几千个文本呢，它最早年代可以追溯到西元8世纪，都还保存在那里。
Okay, that's a good introduction. We're going to take a short break now before we continue closer to the present time. All right, back again for you. From the 13th century until the late 18th century, the Abbey existed as an independent city-state, allied with and protected by the Holy Roman Empire. Now, this again is talking about European history, which I believe to be the most complex of any large area in the world. In the 13th through 18th century, the Abbey, now in Switzerland, remember, lots and lots of mountains. So it's not the kind of area that an army from a country will try to attack. They want land where you can grow things, not high mountains, which are cold and difficult to control and so on. But this Abbey, because nobody really wanted to control it, became independent. But it was what we call a city-state, which means a very, very, very small country, if you like. And to keep its independence, it had to be allied with a larger power that would protect it, if necessary. And there was the Holy Roman Empire. Roman because originally there was the Roman Empire. When that fell apart, it took a couple hundred years for parts of Europe to reorganize under the Holy Roman Empire, which oversaw a lot of Europe. It controlled a lot of Europe, but not all of Europe.
OK, 所以在这边的话，我们来看一下这边第二段的地方。他说，从13世纪到18世纪的晚期这段时间呢，他说 The Abbey existed as an independent city-state, allied with and protected by the Holy Roman Empire. 好，它呢是跟神圣罗马帝国结盟，而且受到神圣罗马帝国的保护。它是一个 independent city-state. City-state 就是城邦的意思。老师刚刚提到说，很多时候他们在欧洲互相打来打去，是希望能够占据土地，好去种植作物。那像瑞士这种多山的地方，他们其实没有那么想占领这种地方，所以呢，他们变成了一个独立的城邦，甚至老师刚刚提到说，可以叫它一个小小的国家吧。那当时的话，13到18世纪晚期是受神圣罗马帝国的保护。
In those days, Venice and Florence were just cities, but they had their own governments.
不然像之前那段时间的佛罗伦斯，也就是他们常常讲翡冷翠佛罗伦斯这个地方啊，那些大的城市，他们都有他们自己的政府的。
Okay, continuing. That changed in 1798. That is, its independence as a city-state protected by the Holy Roman Empire. It was good from the 13th through 18th centuries, not bad, 500 years of peace and independence. But that changed in 1798. Why? Napoleon's armies invaded the area. Napoleon wanted to control all of Europe, and he was a Corsican from an island in the Mediterranean, but it belonged to France, and so he was considered French. And after they invaded the Abbey, the monks were removed from the, now here's another word, monastery. An abbey will usually have a monastery where monks can live, Catholic monks can live, and it may also serve as a church. But you can see the verb invaded here. This was not a welcome change for the monks or for St. Gallen.
没错，所以这边的话呢，当初他讲到13到18世纪的时候，他被神圣罗马帝国保护，但是到了1798年的时候，整个局势改变了。When Napoleon's army invaded the area. 好，那时候拿破仑率领的大军，老师刚刚简单的介绍一下拿破仑的背景，他是科西嘉岛人，因为当时科西嘉岛也是隶属于法国，所以他也是被称为法国人。当时拿破仑率领大军呢，入侵了这个地方。And the monks were removed from the monastery. 好 ，monastery 也就是修道院的意思。这些修道院里的这些僧侣呢，通通都被拿破仑军队给赶走了。
And what happened? The Abbey was declared a cathedral in 1848. The monks left. It was no longer a building or area for them to live in. And it was changed into a cathedral, which would be a very great church.The way we think of churches today, for people in that area to attend. As a monastery, the public would not usually be welcome.
所以在这边如果原本这个是修道院 monastery 的话，基本上它不会开放外人进来。好，这是僧侣住的地方。后来这些僧侣被赶走了之后呢，他说 The Abbey was declared a cathedral in 1848. 那到了1848年的时候，它就变成了一个主教的这个座堂。那大家的话就有机会去看这个地方，去参访这个地方。
Oh, that's easy for me to remember. That was the year I was born.
No way.
1848.
Yeah, 1848.
I was 1948. All right, let's take a short break while I clean out my memory.Welcome back. Our final paragraph for today. The current library hall, designed by Austrian architect Peter Tumb, was constructed between 1758 and 1767. So now it has become not just a cathedral, but a library. Hall is a large room inside of a building.And it would be perfect for building a library.
所以我们看第三段这个地方的第一句话哦，他说 The current library hall， 老师刚刚特别提到 hall 就是大厅的意思，还有提到说现存的这个图书馆的大厅呢是由彼得桑姆所设计的。老师刚刚念发音的那种方式可能是比较接近 Austrian architect， 因为他是奥地利的这个建筑师嘛，所以他的发音的话就不是 Peter， 我的话会念成 Peter Thumb， 但是老师刚刚念的方式可能不是这样，不过没关系，它只是个名字。Was constructed between 1758 and 1767， 好，是1758年到1767年这段时间所建立出来的一个这个大厅，然后到后面的话就继续介绍更多的资讯。
Today, it has a collection of over 170,000 books, most of which can be accessed through a public library service. So if you want to study the Middle Ages or Swiss history and so on, there's the place to go. But you can also you don't necessarily have to pick up one of those old books. You can access those books through a public library service.They may have been copied electronically for you to use.
没错，所以在这边的话告诉你说，到了今天时至今日呢，它呢里面收藏了差不多超过17万本这种书籍。And 他这边提到 most of which， 特别注意一下，为什么用 most of which 而不用 most of them 呢？原因是因为中间这个逗号只有打逗号，没有用任何连接词的时候，后面的部分必须要变成形容词子句。如果它这边的逗号变成 and， 它后面就会变成 and most of them can be accessed through a public library service。 这边要特别注意一下这个 which 的文法。那除了这个之外，他有提到说它可以透过这种 公共的这种图书馆的借阅系统去借阅，你不见得要到那个地方去，然后拿起一本几百年的古书来翻阅哦，它可能都已经被 copy 甚至电子化了，用这种方式可以去查阅。
In 1983, the Abbey and its library were named UNESCO Cultural Heritage Sites for their important role as a cultural center in Europe. UNESCO is UN, United Nations. It's an agency of the United Nations that tries to protect a lot of things, but especially old places which are important in history for cultural reasons.
没错，所以这边的话我们提到的 UNESCO 就是指联合国教科文组织，那他们会去保存非常非常多各个地方有文化重要性的这些遗址啦，或是古迹啊等等的。那整句话的意思就是在1983年的时候，修道院还有它的图书馆，因为呢它在欧洲文化里面的地位相当相当重要，所以后来被联合国教科文组织列为世界文化遗产。
Okay, after a little break, we'll come back and review the vocabulary. All right, we have 8 items for you today. Number 1, burn down is burn, but with the down, it means completely.
第一个呢就是 burn down 这个片语的意思就是指被焚毁、烧毁，好，整个这种大楼被烧坏了，然后整个倒下来。
Number 2, a collection of things is a large group of things that are saved to use in the future.
没错 ，a collection of something 的 collection 就指收藏，可以供日后之用的东西。
Number 3 is easy. Numerous means many.
第三个字形容词 numerous 指的是许许多多的。
Number 4, scatter, as I said, is to spread, to separate things and move them in a large area.
第四个字 scatter 就是指往4个方向东南西北四方四散，或者是东西散落各地，都可以用这个动词。
Number 5, to exist as. The easiest way to describe this is to be. If it's in the past tense, it existed as, then you would say it was.
第5个呢 exist as 可能最简单的方式是 to be 来这种方式表达，就是以什么样的方式存在。
Number 6, to invade is to attack.
To invade 侵略就是攻击， to invade a place 就是去入侵这个地方。
Number 7, construct is to build.
第7个字 construct 就是指 to build 建造建筑。
And our last item is access, used as a verb, and that means that you can use it for a particular purpose.
没错，最后一个字 access 这个动词呢，在这边指的是动词，它的意思就是取得什么东西供你所用。
Okay, that's it for today's lesson. I hope I'll see you in Switzerland in the future. Till then, bye-bye.